All right, it is showtime indeed. Thank you guys for joining me tonight on Comic Book Radio, episode 32. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti, and tonight my guest is Mr. Dan LAWLIS. So before I bring him on, let's say hello to you in the chat. We got Devil Flyer chiming in nice and early at 1:41 p.m. today. Hey, Devil Flyer. This is first in, working. We'll watch later. Hail, Pete and Dan. You both rock the house. Thank you, Devil Flyer, and I hope you get this acknowledgement when you see the show later. Fritzy Schnitzel, what's up? Hope you're doing well. We got just a backer here as well. Not on this campaign, but maybe on the next one. That'd be cool. That'd be cool indeed. Wayne, what's up, Wayne? Hope you're doing well. It's cup of coffee in the big time. Yeah, what's up, Wayne? I got some coffee tonight. Believe me, I need it. Seer of all that is obvious is asking, did time stop? I don't know. Did time ever really begin? Aloise, what's up, Aloise? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Jefferson Roswell in the chat, too. What's up, Jefferson? Hope you're having a great evening. And so is Cole King. He's here, too. What's up, Cole King? All right. So without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, and that would be Mr. Dan LAWLIS. What's up, Dan?
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, look at that. He sounds great.
I sounded
great. Yeah.
You guys don't know, but Peter, beforehand, helped me get my mic working. I wasn't even using it. I got a mic here, but it wasn't working. So now we got the dulcet sounds of Dan LAWLIS.
Yeah, it's great. You'd be surprised. At least I'm always surprised how many times I either go on a show or someone comes on as a guest and they've got a microphone. It's usually like a big mic just like staring them in the face half the time. And I'm like, I don't think that mic is on. I don't think that thing is plugged in correctly because it doesn't sound like a microphone. It sounds like either something's coming from the jack in their headphones or from the computer. Mm-hmm. And they'll sound tinny and far away and echoey and hollow and not what they should sound like. And I'm so glad we could get you sounding good tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So enough of that. Enough of the adoration of your vocal tones through the mic. Dan, I want to talk to you about a bunch of things tonight. I want to talk to you about your life as a life and career as a working artist and how it's not as hard or as easy as some people like to make it out to be. And what I mean by that is this. I see two schools of thought, and they're both extremes, and there has to be more meeting in the middle. One is it's impossible. You can't possibly do it. You can never have that kind of life. You can never make a living making art whatsoever. And then the other school of thought is it's so easy. You just got to draw something and then the doors open for you and everything is great, and neither one of those things are true. Just like most things that are the truth, it's always somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So I do want to start with that with you, but then I also want to circle back to asking you about some of the projects maybe that you have in the works and maybe if you're working on your own comic as well. So does that sound good?
Sounds awesome.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so Dan, take me all the way back to when you first started having the desire to even want to draw, let alone draw professionally. About what time in your life was that?
I can't remember anything specific because it goes too far back. I just loved drawing always. I mean, I just took to it like a fish to water. My brother and we'd sit. My dad was a salesman. We had tons of 8.5 by 11 leaflets he sent out, but it was blank on one side. So I had just stacks of paper, and I just went through them because I'm like one of 8 kids. So by the time I'm number 7, by the time I came along, it's like here's a piece of paper, draw. They're more than happy to have me just go do something, and I did that. And so I think I just started to develop skill sets there and kept that going. But I saw comics, and I just like most of it, fall in love with the 4-color. Action adventure that wasn't school and studies, So
that's great.
So it's fun to me. Comics are fun.
So it's always been a part of your life. This is always something that has been something you've done, something that you've been, lack of a better word, something you've been drawn to.
Yeah. But
that
even more than that, it's a bit of a different twist in that I had very few comics because I bought them myself, and I had to buy them with my paper out money. But I actually referred to I had about like 10 comics, and I referred to them as drawing lessons. Like, I'm learning to draw. So I really was serious about drawing right from the start. I loved, to draw figures and action, all that fun stuff. But I really took it seriously. So I'm not sure exactly where that came from. My mom was an artist, but she was, she had 8 kids. She wasn't, her career was kind of gone. But I think she kind of encouraged that maybe. I don't know. I think some a little bit,
that's great.
So, but it was definitely an art angle. I loved the comics, but I was really interested in as an artist.
That's awesome. Was there anything other than comics that you were particularly drawn to when it came to wanting to illustrate anything whatsoever?
Well, also Frazetta, that was a big deal. I went bananas when I saw my first Frazetta. I can remember I still have the first Frazetta
influence
novel that I I actually. The story is I went to my I was at my Catholic grade school. I think it was 7th or 8th grade, and we had to pick out a book. And I saw Conan the Usurper, the one with him holding the chain with his chains out and the snake between his legs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I thought, man, that's cool, So I picked that one up, and I read it, and I remember reading it fully. And then I thought, this is so great, that was awesome, because Robert E. Howard is a great storyteller too. And then I saw the inside cover, and I'm like, there was Conan the Cimmerian, Conan the Usurper, Conan, whatever, the Wanderer, all that. And I was like, there's more, And so I think this is the first time I really asked my dad, can we go to the bookstore? And I bought these covers and these comics, these novels, and read those Conan stories and ate them up. So I love Conan and stuff, but anyways, that was kind of combining with the comic, anything adventure comics. Lord of the Rings, I love Lord of the Rings. I went nuts for that.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's all that stuff, everything. I just ate it all up because it was fun.
So drawing is so different from painting. At least I feel that way. Do you feel that way at all?
Not so much in
Really?
my style. Not in my style.
Oh, okay. I see.
Because I draw realistically, and I kind of paint it as it's just sort of completing it, really.
Yeah, because to me, I view drawing is a little bit more. I don't want to say it's formulaic or whatever, but to me, painting is a little bit more organic and a little bit more explorative than illustration drawing with a pencil or whatever. To me, that's more not technical, but something along those lines. And the painting, I feel like you're always sort of able to find an easier path of course correction than pencil and ink.
There's so many different styles. I don't know how I could quite pin that down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've got a Micah Kaluta style or Barry Windsor Smith style, and you've got a Gene Colan or a Gil Kane style. There's so many different approaches that are kind of like one's super decorative, one's more just traditional comic look. I don't know. Then you got Bruce Timm, the very basic kind of cartoony looking. So I don't know. It's a lot of different pieces there to nail down to one sort of whatever you're trying to say, a method there.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, from my style though, it's like I draw realistically, and then when I put color on it, it's designed to have color put on it as a full painting. Very much like Frazetta, So that's kind of my tradition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And John Buscema was also a really strong influence. And all those guys that they're kind of the Gil Kane, John Buscema, Gene Colan, Romita, they were kind of realistic artists in a sense. And their stuff could be painted if they wanted to. So that's kind of the tradition. I'm coming from a very traditional tradition,
Yeah,
if you will. There, but
so when you were kind of going in towards a more professional road for making and creating art and making a living off of making art, let's fast forward a bit from when you were a kid. Was it a conscious decision to go towards painting as opposed to illustrative drawing and that kind of technicality of it, and having like more of a flat comic book style? Because your style, like you said, it's pretty realistic, and you're doing such a great job with the lighting and the shape and the form and the anatomy and the structure.
It's from where I'm from, a more traditional art approach, less stylized. I'm a little bit older, and so I'm kind of old school, and that's what it used to be more like that. I was before the Jim Lee styles and stuff like that. That's where I developed my skills set then. But
were you classically trained at all, or was it
I went
just
to art
from
school?
study?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, that if you want to call it classically trained, I went to art school, did illustration, all that sort of stuff. So I studied everything I could study. All the great illustrators for magazines and books and everything. So I'm really, everything that you would get in a pretty darn good art school, I got. So
That's great. Now, when you got your first gig, your first pro gig, that you were like, "Wow, I'm on my way." What was that?
Strange Tales, number 11 from Marvel, and I how I got that, I went to a convention. I saw Archie Goodwin, and I showed him my stuff. He goes, "This is really good," and he goes, "I'm going to get you in contact with an editor," and he got me in contact with Carl Potts, and Carl Potts called me and gave me that first job, and then I was on my way. So, but I did have one try before that, serious try, where I bought a plane ticket, went to New York with my portfolio, no appointments on either DC or Marvel, and walked into both places, and got basically rejected right in the lobby. Because I think it was, I forget who came out. Maybe it was Eric Larson or something. Someone came out at Marvel and
Came in unsolicited, huh?
Yeah, I came in right in the lobby, just kind of ripped my stuff to pieces, and I left with my tail between my legs. And then the other guy, well, I think it was Sal Amendola at DC, and I went into his office and he did the same thing, ripped it. But they all said good things, like you're getting there, you just got to keep going, keep working. They encouraged me. So, but I mean, I was dead set on doing this. It was really,
Yeah.
it was just, I was like, okay, it's not yet. But I mean, there was never any question in my head that I wasn't going to do it.
Any other rejection stories aside from that? Did you ever send in submissions to anybody and everybody?
No, not really. No, I mean, I don't know. It just, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I could do. I really believed in that.
That's
I was going to art school.
Dan.
I was just,
I gotta tell you,
Hmm?
that's impressive, because there's most people that don't just. Yeah, it sounds like you've mostly just had one big rejection from the unsolicited show up to the companies, and then
Yeah.
you went in there at the convention and blew them
I
away.
was just too stupid to know that to know I shouldn't do it.
I guess that
That's
can
more like
help.
it. That's a lot of successes happen where the people just don't know when to quit, and I just was not, quitting was not an option. I just was going to do it.
For the sake of making you look great, we're gonna say that you were fearless, not stupid.
Maybe Foopit or something. Combine those.
You just didn't know any better than to be afraid.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think, something that holds a lot of people back, is that fear of rejection. So even though they may be talented, they've gotten their own head, they're overthinking it, they're analyzing every single thing they've done and going, oh, it's still not good enough, and go and show people your work and work on feedback from actual people that maybe if they're telling you that it's not good enough, you have to do this or that. So many people are inside their own head, but it's great that you didn't really go down that path. Are there ever moments when you do?
Well, I left the industry. That was my big moment, really.
When did that happen?
So I got my first job, Strange Tales, in 1987, and then 97 I left the industry because I was, I was, it just didn't pay me that well. I mean, we're talking making $100 a page at best, and I could only do 4 pages a week or something like that, or roughly that. And we're talking $20,000 a year now, and I was just getting married.
Was it 4 pages because of the detail and the painting and that kind of thing?
I'm still trying to make it as good as I can. I'm just not happy with it. I'm a perfectionist. So I'm starting a family, and I'm like I can't make a living at $20,000 a year. I'm saying I can't support a family. So I found storyboards, and storyboards pays so much better. We're talking. I think it was like $50 a frame, and I could do 8 or 10 of those a day. But they were inconsistent. I mean, maybe I would get one job every week or two, whatever. So it was just a really good thing because I had that, and then I could, be around my family, which is what I really wanted to do. And it was just a matter of money. I couldn't justify it any longer. I remember thinking back when I was, I was 30 something, and I was like projecting, thinking I don't want to be 60 trying to get a job that pays $400 a week, when I'm 60, and it's funny. So I really wrote comic books. I had to kind of financially there's not enough money in it. I had to go do something else, which I didn't mind. I like storyboards. In fact, comic books really trained me well to do storyboards. I mean, you got to draw everything, and then when you're doing storyboards, you can't even find reference half the time. You just got to do it right now. You're
almost
so fast.
You're almost like a concept artist in some ways.
Very much a concept artist, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's enough. You're not going to get rich doing that either. But you can we can make a decent living. So middle class kind of thing.
Yeah, and I find that's such an important thing for a lot of artists out there to realize, is that you're not just going to do the one book a year or work as just doing comic art or be an inker or be a colorist or whatever it may be. You're going to have a lot of different irons in the fire. And I see so many people out there that aren't viewing it in a realistic sense where, yeah, maybe you can still do a comic or something once or twice a year, but it doesn't mean you should completely shut yourself off from all the other kinds of possibilities there are to be an artist, whether it's storyboard or did you do any advertising work or anything at all like that?
Yeah, well, the storyboards was for advertising TV commercials. It wasn't movies, and so it's shorter and more inconsistent, but it's kind of like quick and fast. It's like I'm a night owl because you can get something at 5 and you got to have it done the next day kind of thing. So it's high intensity for a day or 2 or 3, and it's often on weekends and stuff like that. They give you something on Friday, they want it Monday. I mean, it's still doing that, and that's just a life. So if you don't like that life, well, so that's the way it goes. So
exactly, yeah. So you're finding all these different avenues to make a living as an artist. Now, I also noticed, because you didn't just post them on Twitter, but then I go back and I reference my own collections of trading cards, and you've done trading card art too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. For those out there that aren't familiar with Dan's work, just go look him up. We got some of the links to Dan's YouTube channel and to Dan's website on the description of the show. You can go look him up during the break or after the show. But you'll probably recognize a lot of his stuff. And you might not even have realized it for the most part.
Yeah, people are surprised. They go, "Oh, you're attached. You did that Hulk Wolverine card." Like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, it's a beaut.
Yeah, that was probably one and people seem to remember that the most and like it the most. But another place to go if people want to see a good sort of display of my artwork is just Instagram at Dan Lawlis Art. That's DANLAWLIS, just one S, art, and that's I'm putting it's sort of my portfolio. I'm using it as a portfolio, and so you can see everything I've been doing lately. I mean, I got some Death Dealer stuff up there, that I've done recently, some of that Frazetta stuff. So I'm going back to my roots a little bit with Frazetta. Lots of fun, so I'm enjoying that. But I tell you what, though, the reason I'm really getting serious and coming back at comics again is simply because of the crowdfunding thing.
You beat me to it. That was my next question.
Well, that's the thing is when I was working at Marvel, I'm a perfectionist. I really wanted to do great comics, and I found I couldn't do the comic book quality I wanted on a monthly rate. Monthly speed. Just couldn't, and it was unbelievably frustrating. And then someone's inking your work too, and it's not your that's a little bit frustrating too if they can't read your mind, so that's unless you get someone like the one time I had Kevin Nolan ink one of my stories. I was like, that's a case where, hey, go for it. He's gonna, and he made it better because this is my beginning stuff, and so it was great. So that was a lot of fun. So occasionally they make it better, but most of the time it's kind of something not so much what you wanted or that sort of thing. And the colorists, they you have no control over that. Now with crowdfunding, I can do everything. I can do the art. I do the lettering. I mean, I'm working on a story, so it's it's all me. It's total control. This is acceptable to me, because I just if I'm gonna spend this much time doing a story or working on a comic, it's got to be good. It's got to be something really really special for people. Because when I got in the industry, like I said, '87. Think about it. Right before they had Frank Miller's Dark Knight, you had Watchmen, you had Dave Stevens' Rocketeer. All this stuff was happening, and I'm thinking, wow, comics are going. They're getting so cool. They're so awesome. And then nothing really happened. There wasn't another generation of a Frank Miller's or Dave Watch or Alan Moore. I didn't see the same.
They made
same
sure of
blockbusters. That. I feel like they started to treat it like a corporation, which is a really bad idea. Because it's not. That's another thing we should talk about. Just the this activism that's coming to comics lately, where they're trying to say tell you what you're going to fantasize about, because these are fantasies. You fantasize about being a big tough guy. Nope, you can't fantasize about that. You got to have this person and that person, in the cast. Like, no, that's going to kill comics, and it is killing comics. You got to be freed, totally free.
Ultimately, what you're talking about is the same thing that's drawing you to crowdfunding. Is you're talking about a lack of creative control.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And we see that across the board.
Like I said, if it's an agenda, a motivated agenda thing or something like that, it's like, oh gosh, I just want to do something cool, But they'll say, no, you're that coolness is not acceptable. You got to do what we're telling you. You got to do this message or this whatever political belief it is or something. I don't know.
Which is so strange, because there was the Comic Code Authority, and it seemed like they were looser with their restrictions than what we see nowadays.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah. Actually, a lot of people hated the Comics Code Authority. I kind of thought it was all right, because it did keep the comic books for kids, and so that to a certain extent, so parents can trust it a little bit, and they can go, okay, you can buy that Spider-Man comic. I know you're not going to get indoctrinated into something stupid or weird, or and you kind of knew what you're getting a little bit, and that's good. That for the industry, I think if you get accepted into the society. But now it's just like, they're going the opposite way. They're going like, we don't care what you think as parents. We're going to do whatever we decide we're going to do for your kids. Like, no, you're not going to do that. And so they're killing their comic book audience, and that they're kind of pushing out of the society now a little bit. People are there's some pushback, I feel like, to this, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a deep conversation. Do you really want to go down that rabbit hole?
I think I touched on it close enough. It's just you can't. Let's just say your fantasies. You got to be free. You got to be free as a creator to do work and within decent morality. I mean, you don't want to. You don't want to do anything, whatever. But
well, I mean, if you've got a mature comic, you can have whatever is appropriate for that. If you've got a comic that you're making that's supposed to be accessible for readers of all ages, then you do have to understand the taste level and the appropriate level of what to put in that story and everything. To me, I find it so ironic, because there were so many comics that all you hear was, they were for kids. They're aimed at kids. Comics were for kids. And then meanwhile, you go back in the day and you read these comics from the 70s, 80s, early 90s, and you're thinking, at least that's what I'm thinking, is I look at it and I go, I don't know if many people would consider this for kids today. It's so much more, it's so deeper in philosophy. It's so much more deeper in theme. Some of the stuff that's touched upon, some of the characterization involved, some of the dynamics between the characters and the stories and the plot lines and the villains and what they're doing. It's so much more mature than what not just comics have become today, but entertainment in general that's aimed at kids. Seems to be so about kind of placating and turning more into let's keep it infantile, as opposed to let's challenge kids to get to this level of thinking about what's occurring within the story, what the characters are doing. But it's not directed for them to think this way. It's more about, look at what these characters are going through. Look at what the story, how it's kind of unfolding.
Yeah,
And
I think there's
kid
room
gets
for,
emotionally involved and they think about it and that kind of a thing. But
I
not
think
a
there's
lot of
room
that
for
happens.
social commentary, but like I said, you got to put it in such a way that it lets the reader draw their own conclusion as to what
Absolutely
what they think about it, not just like, oh, here's this almost like what do you call when you have a political figure that they're like God and they got to be, you can't say anything bad about them ever, like that sort of thing. It's like, no, you want to have characters that have mistakes and flaws and trials and tribulations, and that's kind of more interesting to me. It makes a better story, and it's it can be a commentary though.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing too, is I find that we're not seeing so much of that, especially for entertainment that's either geared towards kids or supposed to be kid friendly. I'm seeing a lot more along the lines of, and people are they don't know what it looks like anymore a lot of the time, but I'm seeing a lot more of what would be considered propaganda as opposed to story.
That's what I mean. There's no flaw in the propaganda.
Telling you what to think and how you should think, as opposed to allowing you to think about.
Yeah, like I said, if you have a propaganda figure, they can't have any flaws. That's the problem. You've got to have a character who's going through trials and tribulations, but they can't do that because they're afraid someone will be offended that you didn't represent their character in the proper light. It's like, well, then you're not going to have a good story.
Yeah.
That's really killing the stories. So.
Yeah, because that's what people. Story is as old as humanity. It's what's defined culture for the most part. It's
Absolutely.
What's been used to communicate between cultures and peoples, and to unite people or to divide people, depending on how those stories are being used, which I think we see a lot of nowadays. But it is funny to me to see this kind of thing take hold of the entertainment industry, and people, at the most part, are thinking they treat these things sometimes as if they're nonfiction. Right? As if they're things that these have occurred. These events have occurred. There's no one there creating them.
Yeah.
They have to tell them the way that they occurred. That drives me crazy to see that, because you're the creator at the end of the day. If you're having this character do this or that or the other thing that's out of character or doesn't make any sense or is an awful character motivation for what's transpiring, you're the creator. You're the person that's in there that's writing the scene a certain way, or, if you're part of that corporate machine like you were talking about before, maybe you're someone that's in there and you don't have that creative control and you're being told from on high, this is how that's going to play out, this is what it should look like, this is what it should sound like. And then to see people that staunchly defend that kind of thing, not understanding that you're not truly defending artistic creativity and freedom. You're defending corporate sponsorship, censorship, and propaganda.
Exactly. It's the opposite of creative freedom.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. The freedom's got to be there. It's you got to have it, and that's the thing about the independence. It's great. Not only do you not have, you have no restrictions as far as, the usual ones like Superman's got to be this way or that way, or Spider-Man. You can create any character you want. Like I said, if you want to do an adults comic, you can do it if you want, and so it's completely free in the independent market, which is a lot of fun. So
yeah.
I mean, I won't do an adult comic, but I can do whatever I want, my thing, so. Absolutely.
Man, oh man. All right, I can't believe we're already at the half-hour mark. What happened?
35.
At the half-hour mark, we take a quick little break and then we come back to do the rest of the show. But it seems like we were just talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot of ground pretty quick.
What kind of trickery is this? Seriously, though, it feels like.
Isn't that funny? It's funny how it works, isn't it?
So we're gonna take a quick break here for about 2 minutes. We'll be right back. You guys are watching Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. My guest tonight is Dan Lawless. We'll be right back. 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We will see you in just a little bit.
Sci-Fi for Me is about to take you on an incredible journey into the realms of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Interviews with writers, filmmakers, artists, and actors. conventions and fandom, previews and reviews of movies and television. Sci-Fi for Me is working to be the most popular science fiction magazine in the solar system. Subscribe now and enter the fantastic world of Sci-Fi for Me, delivering the multiverse since 2009.
All right, and we're back. You're watching Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti. Tonight, my guest is Dan Lawless. Dan, before we left, and before we were talking about how much time we just realized we lost without losing much time at all, I'm serious. I felt like 5 minutes had passed, and I look, and I'm like, we're at the half-hour mark? What the heck? You all right there?
Yeah, I just went swallowed a little wrong.
Oh, went down the wrong
I got my water
tube.
here. I'm fine.
So we're talking about creative freedom. Let's steer the conversation towards the more positive side of creative freedom. And before we get down that end of it, I've got a link here in the chat. If you guys do want to join the show and hop on board and have a question or comment for Dan, please feel free to do so. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. You can join the show, stop by and say hello. Don't be shy. Sometimes people are shy. Don't be shy tonight. All right. So creative freedom and crowdfunding, crowdfunding and what you're doing right now. You're a part of a different batch of projects right now, right? Yeah, you got something involved with Wraith of God and then also Core Draft.
Yeah. Well, this is what's it's so much fun is like this what we're doing right now. Like when I was in comics, I say it was pretty lonely. It was just me, and I'm FedExing stuff, and there's no one really in my area that I knew that drew comics and stuff. Now I'm getting together, with Graham or Nolan or Aaron Lepresti, and we're doing this. We're talking and stuff, and it's so much more fun and exciting. And I was on a show with Aaron Lepresti, and he was showing his Garbage Man pages, and I said, "Man, I'd love to color those things." And he goes, "Do you wanna?" And like yeah, and that's how organic it is. It was so much fun. And the same thing happened with I did that pinup for Rini. I was on a show with her, and she said, "Boy, I'd like to get Dan Lawless to do me an illustration for me." I said, "Well, I'll do one for you. What the heck? What? Sure, And she goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." And like a couple of days later, I had an illustration for her, and so that's what's so much fun. Is just this kind of organic kind of a thing that's happening, where I'm connecting with other creators. So it's really, I'm really seeing this as, I mean, you guys don't, I'm pushing 60, I'm 57, and in my day, there just wasn't this communication. It was nothing like this. So I am expecting, and I'm seeing it, an explosion in creativity in the comic book market, especially because it's in tune with the crowdfunding and the independent comic book creations, happening. So this is really, really cool. I'm expecting to see great comics, because I think actually they sort of, we're kind of mimicking a little bit more now the European style, where they spend a whole year on a really good comic book and put out a graphic novel, versus these little quick periodicals that come out monthly, which are are fine, but it's like it takes a special skill set to do that.
Yeah,
it's very difficult,
Yeah, and I think they kind of did it really well back then. And I mean, that's oversimplifying it, but I think so much has changed to the point of, and I'm just looking at and thinking about it in my mind with a lot of modern comics and how they're either hyper detailed, or where you got every little lace on the boot and that kind of thing, every seam on the costume, to the point that it's like, okay, all right, or there's almost no detail whatsoever, and it looks like, wow, did you guys go to the local high school and just get someone in here to draw an issue today? It's so inconsistent, but you're seeing a lot of stuff through crowdfunding right now that is, like you had mentioned before, it's these people that they have a creative vision. They're taking their time. They're trying to craft something that's great. It's not just about spitting something out just to spit it out. And, because we got a book to put out this month, and hell, who knows how good it's going to be. We'll see. It's actually people taking time and really kind of having the other side of it too, which I love to see, which is the engagement side of it. Did you have any of that? experience being engaged with the audiences, the readership, when you were coming up through the corporate comics world as
No.
opposed to now?
Not except for conventions. Loved conventions, but it was far and few between, whatever. So it wasn't enough to keep you kind of going. This is incredible work. I put something on Instagram and I can see right away like how many people like it and if they like it or comments and that sort of thing. And we feed off of that. It's really kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back quickly to what you're talking about, doing it right. One thing that they did right back then is they kept the price low, and that's what I like about alternative comics is that you guys haven't forgotten that, because you can't, honestly, unless you got a good chunk of change, you can't collect Marvel's line. I used to be able to. If you were younger, you could collect Marvel's, the Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Spider-Man,
yeah.
and as a kid with your paper out money like I did, and it was, you could actually pull it off. You can't do that now. Not at $6 a pop or whatever they're doing these things at.
Especially a lot of that that decompressed storytelling and a lot of that event-driven kind of stuff, where
Yes.
you got to go in there and buy like 70 comics or something to get the whole entire story.
I saw when they started doing that, it started to get difficult, and that's the thing, is you got to keep in mind their average, buyer and what they can
Yeah.
afford. They're pricing themselves out of the market. But the good thing about the crowdfunding is even though they're a little more expensive comics in some ways, you can save up the money for them and buy them when at your convenience. In the old days, if you didn't get it off the rack at that month, that's it. So it didn't kind of work with that when they increased the price point, because they're just pressuring people like, I can't afford this, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the alternate comic books, the alternate media is the future as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah. Pushing it more and more towards the hands of the creative in terms of having control on that, the vision that they see and they want to put it out there. I'm still shocked to this day that there's people out there that go down this road, the corporate road, with these companies, and then when the companies inevitably screw them over in some way, shape, or form, they're shocked.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
it's like we have decades upon decades now to realize that this is going to happen. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, well, I hope people, that they don't forget the story of Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby could not walk into a toy store because it would just hurt too much. He sees all of his creations there, making millions of billions of dollars, whatever it is, and he didn't see any money from that. And that was, so I think there's a lot. That's one of the things that the corporate comics are having trouble with right now. Is I don't think these people are ready to give their best ideas to these corporate companies anymore. They know they're not, especially Marvel. You don't get anything from Marvel. You get something from DC, if you create a character, but not Marvel. So I have to say, but you're almost stupid if you give Marvel a really good idea. You're kind of dumb. You shouldn't do that. You should save those best ideas for your own comic books.
Yeah, I think that's why we see a regurgitation of character and, all kinds of stuff. You get race, gender, sexuality. They're all treated like costume changes nowadays,
Yeah.
And instead of like Spider-Man's new black costume, it's, Spider-Man's new sexuality or whatever it may be. It's such a shame. And it dwindles down all these aspects of humanity into these selling points and these things to pander to, which is also awful. But then they completely take another spin on it and they go, no, but this is great because now there's representation. Representation of what? It's so backwards in terms of creativity, storytelling, and something that will ring true. I don't know. I can't get into any of that. I love it when you see what you and others like you are doing, where you come in there with a new character, with a new story, with something that is engaging, and you're like, hey, does this resonate with you? Hopefully it does.
And
that's where it is.
I can find out online. I can put it out there, and people say, wow, that's cool. I know I got some. It's direct feedback. And it's a lot of fun. That tells me whether it's going to sell or not. I don't think they care about sales. Strangely enough.
Well, yeah, that might be something too that has to do with the fact that these aren't comic book companies anymore. These are subdivisions of mega conglomerates.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. They don't back when Stan was doing the comics, it was like He had to, what sold and what didn't sell. That was everything, and it was merit based, and that's all that mattered. So it isn't that they didn't have diversity and things like that.
Oh,
they had
no,
Black Panther
no.
sold great. But you had to be good. Couldn't be junk. If it wasn't good, it didn't sell. Then it was gone, even if it was diverse or whatever.
And it was another thing too. It was responsive to the audience. So all I could think is, as the audiences would shift, and you would get comics into more and more places, in front of more and more people, what would happen is that obviously they're attracting a wider audience. So to respond to the wider audience, of course, then they would have different characters that go, hey, we're actually going into these kind of markets now. Let's have a character that's this and that and whatever. And they did that throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But nowadays they go, oh, that never happened. Nothing was diverse until 2015. when the almighty corporate machine came down and said, now there shall be diversity.
Exactly. You're almost like the original sin. You're guilty before you even tried anything.
And it's the funniest thing. I think of all these characters that I loved a lot as a kid who sure as hell didn't look like me or act like me or anything that were like me. I mean, hell, I could think of even Ninja Turtles.
Right.
I don't know who the hell the Ninja Turtles represent, physically anyway. But you loved the Ninja Turtles for whatever reason because they resonated with you for who they were, what they were doing.
Yeah. And that's also a lot of times when they do these sort of going towards a diversity, it's almost insulting. Like, it's a caricature of that group. You know what I'm saying? It's not saying, oh, this is what you got to be. If you got to have the rap music or something, you got to be, you got to be this kind of a. It's almost making fun of it, not really like thinking, hey, there's depth here. This person could be, maybe they're black, but they listen to Mozart. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? You have to go through this stereotype of what they think it is, and that's not even fair either. You know what I'm saying? To give this stuff to someone and say, hey, this is what you are. Like, maybe I won't be that. Maybe, I'm a white guy. Maybe I want to read Black Panther.
Yeah,
I like it. So it's something like that. So it's just ridiculous that they think in these terms instead of just thinking of put out a fantasy. Do people like it? Then to give them more of that.
Exactly.
It's not really difficult,
Yeah, but you're touching upon before, which makes things so different now, is that creative control, and that you can go in there and you can create these stories the way you want to create them. You don't have to be beholden to anything. So someone touched upon it before, and I want to get back to it. Are you working on any of your own IP, whether it's right now or for the future?
Yes, I'm working on it right now. I got a story written out, and I got my hello.
I love the smile. You see the smile? Oh, that's someone who's loving what they're doing.
I got this is all printed out, just roughs, I did my
wow, man.
My like a rough with the lettering. That's the thing is.
Did you want to show any of it? Can I put you full? No. Okay.
It's not there yet, but
all right.
It's still too in the working phrase. But the main thing is like, here's how important the story is to me. I did the lettering and rough first because the placement of the words means a lot to me. How it moves from picture to picture. How long how long the tag is on that word bubble. I care about that. You know what I mean? And it's like, so this is the thing is now I can control all this stuff.
The language of comics.
It's one art to me. It's all it's all a piece of art, and the size of the panel, the way it moves from picture to picture to picture, everything, the character design, the colors, choices, it's fully in my control now, and it'll be as good or as bad as I am.
Are you going to be? So you're going to be painting that comic as well?
Yeah, well, I'll do it. I'll draw it, and as I do most things, like say that Black Terror thing I did for Vaughn, I draw it in tight pencil, scan it in, and then finish it with the Photoshop coloring. So the coloring's done in Photoshop. So I'm doing black and white drawings and stuff like that. But so I'll have original art, which I kind of wanted, because I've done some pieces. I've done some pieces fully digitally, and I'm like, darn it, I wish I had done that piece. And made some original art from, because I want that piece, but I don't have it. It was kind of frustrating. So, like, for example, that Death Dealer thing I did for the Overstreet Price Guide, I did that. That one has a drawing. That one has a original art. I scanned it in, colored it, because I wanted that piece. I wanted to have it. So
Yeah, I see that I don't think there's so much short-sightedness in the push towards digital across the board, and I think this is where a lot of artists, especially that are pushing in that direction 100%, and I know many, too many, that don't have a damn thing of original art. Not even thumbnails. All the thumbnails, all the pencils, it's all digital.
yeah.
And 20, 30, 40 years from now, when they're like, man, I could have had thousands of pieces of original art to use as my retirement money,
That's
hey,
true
let's get a
Yeah.
pizza tonight. Let me just put this on eBay. Boom, it's gone. Nothing. You got nothing.
Exactly.
And it's so short-sighted. Don't do that to yourselves, guys. Do something out there.
Yeah.
Something.
And I found like for that Two-Fisted Manly Tales I did for Graham Nolan's book, I did that all digitally. I found it took me longer because what happened was I was zooming in on something tiny, like a half-inch big, and I was rendering it, and it gets bigger like this. I finish it, I render it, and it gets back down. It's like I didn't even need to do that. So it took me a long time to do that. I was very frustrated with that. I didn't like it. It's just the whole thing. I have to have, I don't know, something about pencil and paper, that texture that you're doing with your pencil, and it just feels better to me. I feel it. It's organic,
Do you find when you work digitally, is there more of an inclination for you to lean into perfectionism, and every little line must be perfect, and you're zooming in to the point that you're losing the overall image?
Maybe. Mainly, I said it seems. Yeah, you can do that. You can overwork something pretty easily. Yeah, and I'm trying to go back to regular. I'll still do something fully digital, especially if I don't think the original art will sell well. It still is kind of faster in some ways. If you have to be careful though with it.
Yeah.
So
I find that there's less happy accidents, to go Bob Ross on you, when you go digital.
Yeah,
and there's more of those little happy accidents that come about.
The main advantage for
traditional.
the main advantage for me in drawing digital is the ability to flip the image and work on it. Because when you flip an image, you see all your flaws. It's an amazing thing.
The wonkiness of things. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I see an eye is up here, down there. I can't see it, and then usually I use a mirror when I'm drawing, but that's very difficult because I got to look at the mirror, then I got to try to fix it, then look at the mirror again. But with the Photoshop, I can actually flip the image, work on it, fix it, and then flip it back, and it's truly that's brilliant. I wish I had a organic equivalent of that.
Yeah.
But so there's some just sort of like I'll draw it. I know when I draw these out, I'll have some flaws in it, and I will scan it in and fix it in Photoshop, the drawing a little bit, Because you got the liquefy tool, you got all kinds of stuff. You can move stuff around, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. There's so much you could do with digital that's great.
Yeah.
But what I hate seeing is people who do 100% from the thumbnail to the end, and they didn't do any of it, and then they, like you said, you look back and you're like, man, I wish I had some of that traditionally. Yeah. I know in the chat we got Mudslinger says you can always print it. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Not the same. Well, another thing too is when I did my color, the trading cards did well because that was double size. My colored pen, that's all colored pencil. When I shrink it down, it looks sharp. But when I'm just doing like regular comic size, like I did that 3-part Star-Lord series where it was fully painted or pencil painted, I would say. And the camera or scanner picks up the textures that you don't even see with your eye. The original artwork looks so much better than the way it printed. I was so frustrated. No color control. The way that the camera picks up, certain colors and stuff. So I don't like coloring for comics, but on the computer, because when it's on the computer, I can control every value and everything, and it looks like I want it to look. It looks slick if I want it to look slick. I want it to have texture. I can add texture. I don't like it when it's like that thing where you give a penciler, give an inker pencils, and you kind of does his own thing and you don't like it. It's like I don't like it when I don't have that control. They kind of mess it up or take me steps away from where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
With the computer, once it's scanned in and drawings looks nice, when I color that, it prints exactly the way I want it to be. There's no shock value when I get some of this stuff and I'm like, oh, that looks, that's spot on, you know. That's the way I wanted it to look. So
Yeah, it's great you're able to make that work for you in that way.
yeah.
This original creation you're doing, this story that you're coming up with here, when can we look forward to seeing a little bit of it and hearing more about it?
I don't know exactly, because I am still doing my bread and butter work, you know. So I'd love to get to that position where I can switch to going full-time comics, but I have to still maintain my, you know, income with the other work. So I'm fitting around it, in other words. But I'm working at it fairly steadily, and it's going to be sword and sorcery. And I love Conan, so it's going to be like a Conan-esque kind of you know, environment. Because really, I just want to draw monsters and swords and armor and all that stuff. That's really all I wanted to do, you know. So this is actually, that's the funny thing. I don't really think I really got to write a story badly, but it's more like I want to control the art, and part of the controlling the art is the story. So you know what I'm saying? I have to write it, and but I can write a story, okay, you know. So we'll see what people think, you know.
Forgive my ignorance here. Do you have like a sketchbook, an art book, anything like that that's available?
No.
Oh man, you ever think about putting one out that's kind of like maybe like a 9x12? That would be kind of a cool coffee table.
Yeah, I could. I
book.
mean, I have tons of sketches and stuff like that. But really, honestly, I'm really interested in the comic book. I really want to tell stories. That's where my passion is. I have, you know, this thing now that's coming together, and it's like, yeah, that's it, you know. So
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And the thing is that's kind of interesting is, like I said, I'm getting involved with other people's projects a little bit here and there, and so people get to find out what I can do and see stuff, and so that it's kind of a win-win. You know, they get to see, oh, you got a, you know, you can really see what I'm excited to see your book now, kind of thing, but also they get some help with their, you know, their books and the promotion, whatever they're, you know, if they have like I say with Rini, I gave her a pretty cool piece that kind of gave a little twist on her story, you know. You know, the way she imagined things, and so it was just a different, whatever, just an illustrative approach to her own characters. So that was, I think that helps a little bit to kind of round out the characters. Just like if you get Sienkiewicz or something working on something on your own character, what that would look like, you know. So you got, when different artists come in and put their spin on it, it's interesting, and I think it helps develop the character. How many great artists throughout the years have worked on Spider-Man and made it kind of over time made it what it is today, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. All the different creators that get involved with that to shape that character. Man, oh man. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I do want you to stay for a couple minutes after the show. Are you able to do that? Because we're going to wrap
Sure.
up in about 5 minutes. I want to
Yep.
ask you something. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
In front of everybody. I'll tell you what it is. It's about the upcoming King Cryptid campaign.
Yeah.
And I would
I've
like
seen
to.
it. It looks great.
Thank you,
That's a
man.
cool. Some of those covers are rocking, man. They're
Thank
really
you.
cool.
Yeah, I'm blessed. My cup runneth over.
Yeah.
With the artists that are working on this. It's great, just great. But I do want to ask you something about it.
Okay.
And so please stay for a couple minutes after. Sorry, chat, you're not gonna hear the conversation live. If it goes well, then I'll tell you guys later.
Make sure you turn the mic off and everything. You can't have a hot mic, you know.
So I won't end the broadcast. I'll just be like, yeah, no, don't worry. It might say we're live, but we're not
gone
actually
now.
live. Man, oh man.
By
All
the
right.
way, I have to say, you know, I'm so grateful that people will actually tune into these things and listen to what we have to say. You know, it's like they don't have to do that, and so.
Oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so, you know, it's so incredible that you know, this is part of this thing. You know, I mean to meet the people. You know, it's that you're working for. These are your employers, and it's fun to meet them in person. You know.
Yeah, totally, man. You're getting a little bit of pressure here from the chat. They don't even know what the heck I'm going to ask you, but they're already leaning in. Speaking of people who spend some time with us, and it's great to talk to them, we got a guest here, Mr. Paulus Arts. What's up?
Oh, nothing much. How you guys doing? I just wanted to pop in for a second. Just wanted to tell you guys that I like both of you. And I wanted to give a shout out to Dan's Conan the Barbarian group on Facebook.
Oh, that's right.
And you
Yeah,
guys,
I've been running that for years. That just I actually, the funny thing is, I started that because I was trying to get a job doing Conan, and I was trying to put my samples up at some of these Conan pages, and they were like, "You can't put your own work up there." And I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll make my own book. I'll make my own group," and I did, and it's got like 20,000 members and stuff. It's pretty big. But,
yeah, I checked that one out, and probably the one you're talking about. I have seen some people post their own artwork, and I'm like, you guys are gonna get booted, but
you know what? I know there's some guys that put in some, beginner artwork there, and I kind of like that too, though. I like the community, and I like so not everything has to be perfect. And so I know a lot of people don't like that when these guys put up, not the best artwork, whatever. But I just feel like they could just scroll past it if they don't like it, Anyways, I like to have kind of open. I want a community. I want a Conan community.
And it's about the love of the character.
Exactly.
So it's like if someone's going to express, whether they're good or not, it's like, hey.
Exactly. It's an expression to them, and they're working hard at it, and they're having fun. That's the main thing. They're having fun.
Yeah. So I
better,
just wanted to say that.
It's better than nobody showing up to that group. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
Have people coming in and interacting. I watch it. It's like the biggest hard thing about doing it is every day you get all these people from all these parts of the world that that it's just all spam, so I have to go through it and like I'll get like 20 or 30 of these people, like it has names I can't even read.
That's
like
Facebook for you.
Yeah, that is the downside of Facebook.
So it's
like
a pain.
A lot of art groups, you'll get like unpronounceable names, and then they'll like do borderline porn posts, and you're like,
right, yeah.
Where
so
are the mods
I have
on
to
this?
I have to go through those every day and make sure those people don't get in the group.
Yeah.
Which is I'm doing a pretty good job of it because I just do it once a day, and so none of those guys get in to do their posts. I had to restrict it. I had to get to get the accepting thing where they have to be accepted by me to get in the group. That's the only way I could do it. Otherwise they were spamming the hell out of me. I was like,
yeah, and I wasn't sure, like when I started posting my art, I was like, I don't know if that's allowed here, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Well, anybody's in that group, just email me. If you have a question.
Yeah, I've seen some of your posts. I really liked the like a linear style of.
Yeah, I tried that.
Conan.
That was a little different.
Yeah, I in some ways I kind of like that more, man. I love your painted style, but it was cool to see like linear and then like just a little bit of splash of color.
Yeah,
like
that's unusual.
Kind of watercolor almost.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that image. It's on Instagram at Dan LAWLIS Art on Instagram, or the Conan group. Either way, they're both there.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm gonna take off, but it was nice talking to you guys.
Okay.
And
Thank you for joining us tonight,
Stop
Paul.
by and say hi
Appreciate
anytime.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great night,
All
buddy.
right. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, that's great, man. That you're running that. That's awesome.
I like that you have people come in here, though. That's really cool. So it reminds me of a radio show.
Hence the title.
Yeah. Like a call-in show. I mean, that's really, and that's what's so cool is not just. I mean, the chat's great, and you can have the chat, but to invite people on the show and actually say and see their face maybe or say hello, or hear their voice, that's really interesting.
Yeah. I love doing that and then offering that as an opportunity for people to come on board and say hello to somebody that's the guest or whatever it may be. It's great. And I try to run it like, even though it's YouTube, I try to run it like it's a radio show.
Yeah.
And have people on one at a time, of course, not like a big, huge.
Yeah, those are honestly those are tough for me because first off, I'm not that funny and clever.
Oh no, you're pretty good.
Well, I'm saying but some of these guys are like they make jokes every 5 seconds that just it's hilarious, and I'm just I'm okay, but I'm just not. Some of them are, like Ethan, he's like he's on another level,
Oh yeah, he's great.
So it's just like I just so you get in a show like that, just like I'm just like a wallflower,
Yeah, we try to keep it a little bit more personal, a little bit more intimate with this show.
Yeah.
Let's see. People remember you from Pencil Jack Forum. Is that's still around, right? Pencil Jack?
Pencil Jack Forum. What's that?
Do they not remember you, or are they misremembering?
I don't know
were
what
you
Pencil
on
Jack
there?
forum is.
It was a forum, or maybe it still is. I don't know if it's still around. I haven't been on it in years. People just posted art and talked about comics or creating art or whatever on Pencil Jack. Were
No, I
you
don't
on
know.
there?
That's not me then, because I don't know anything about Pencil Jack.
Oh man, Ben Soto, you're. I apologize then. Ben, are you sure you're remembering Dan then from Pencil Jack?
Well, let's just take the great artist and great guy thing. Let's run with that.
Yeah, that's true. That part is true.
Let's not run from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me, Pet from Pencil Jack. Yeah.
He goes, I remember Dan. He's a great artist and a great guy. Correct.
Right. Yeah, that was me from Pencil Jack, definitely.
Were you on digital webbing? Maybe is that what it was?
Nope.
Okay. Did you hang out on any forum that they might be remembering you from?
No, I didn't do any forums.
Oh man, we've got a mystery on our hands.
Yeah.
I wonder
Is
who Ben's remembering.
someone pretending they're me?
Oh wow. Well, hey, at least they were doing right by
Yeah,
you.
apparently they're doing good work or whatever. Keep it up, guys. I didn't even have to hire anybody. They just PR for me.
One of the many Dan Lawless clones running around.
Yeah. I guess.
Wow. Okay. All right. So before we do take off here, we're gonna be wrapping up in about a minute. Is there any kind of advice you would give to the up-and-comer, the aspiring artist out there that's looking to make a living making art?
I would say, don't give your best ideas to the big companies. I would see, really, because here's the thing: is like, in 1987, I did that Strange Tales 11, and I got a couple of years ago. They sent me a reprint of Cloak and Dagger, and that was in it. They're still selling it from 30 years ago, and whatever, how many years ago that is. Is it next year? 36 years ago? Holy shit! But I could have been selling that for the past 36 years. You know what I'm saying? Like if I had just created my company, maybe it wouldn't have initial sales of that great. But over time, over 30 years of selling that work, you can sell it to the next generation if you own it. So I think really consider seriously the independence, because if you can have ownership and reprint that again and again, you can have that, can make money from it for the rest of your life. That's a great idea, and you'll be very frustrated when you see your stuff on screen going. And it won't be pride. It won't be like, hey, I created Thanos, like Starlin. It's embarrassing. Like, there's my character. I'm not getting any money from it. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be that's more humiliating than prideful. So that's what I would say. Just do your thing and love it, enjoy it, and that's what I'm gonna do. So.
Yeah, that's some solid advice. I do wonder, with these creators, are they allowed at all to go on there and make their next book and say, from the creator of whatever?
Yeah, you can say you're if I wanted to say, hey, I used to put in my title former Marvel and DC comic artist until that started to not be so prestigious anymore.
Yeah, it's like, well, what time period?
Exactly.
What exactly did you make?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. But thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And yes, I agree, Paulus. Absolutely. I can't wait to see what you're making there, Dan. I know it's going to look beautiful, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I hope.
What was that?
I hope.
Oh, it will. It will. There's no way. I'm sure you could illustrate the dictionary, and it would look beautiful.
I can still do stinkers, man. I've done them. You just don't see them. I don't put them up.
Well, hey, your stinkers are probably most people's. Look at this amazing thing I made. So hey, I'm not trying to pump your tires too much, although I kind of am, because afterwards I do want to talk to you for a minute or two. But Dan, thank you so much tonight. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys as well. It was a really fun show. We covered a lot of ground. I don't even know how the heck we got here in an hour. Goodness, yeah. I've done a lot of these shows so far, and I think this one flew by. Sometimes I feel the hour, and even though they're always all great, I'm like, yeah, that seems like an hour. Yeah. This one, I'm like, didn't we just start 10 minutes ago? Yeah. So I'm gonna have to have you back on again.
I think we hit the hot
day.
buttons, for both of us, like what floats our boats. This what's going on in the industry and the crap that we both have been through. trying to be a normal person in this industry. That's a challenge.
Yeah, and
So-
the creative freedom aspect as well. All of that. That's
Yep.
like right in that hits home. That hits home.
Absolutely.
But all right, man. Thank you so much, everybody in the chat. Thank you guys as well. Have a wonderful night. I'm gonna be launching King Cryptid tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern on Indiegogo and AlternaComics.com. So be there. Day one backers get an exclusive Victor Lugo ID badge, and this is gonna be a real fun campaign. We got 5 issues on it and all kinds of cool extras. So I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. And I'll hope to see you guys then and there. Dan, again, thank you so much, man. Please
you.
just hang on for a couple minutes. I want to talk to you real
Absolutely.
quick. And everybody, hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks, and have a wonderful evening. And if I don't see you tomorrow, have a great weekend. Everybody take it easy. And there we go.